Hello and welcome to this episode of Convenience Talks. My name is Katy Moses. I am the founder and MD of KAM Media, and I'm joined today by the wonderful and inimitable Chris Dillon, who is Head of Insight for Newtrade Media. Chris, thank you so much for joining me. Would you like to just give those viewers out there who don't know you or Newtrade a little bit of a more in-depth introduction than I just gave?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, hi everyone. My name's Chris Dillon. As Kate said, the head of insight at Newtrade Media. We're a B2B publisher, events, all-round media company for the convenience retail industry. And you'll possibly know our flagship titles: RN, Retail Express, and on our website, Better Retailing. And yeah, I've worked there for about 6 years, and I've just started this new role as head of insight.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Chris. Lovely to have you on. I've been fascinated really to know about how trade press is doing, during this crisis. Certainly, we've already seen, a couple of casualties, but we've also seen some other people come out stronger. So, what was your sort of initial reaction stroke adaptation when the pandemic hit?
Sure. So yeah, Newtrade Media, we never really had much of a policy of working from home beforehand. And, obviously in March that completely changed, and it was all of our processes to put together a weekly and fortnightly title went straight out the window. We used to proof pages on printed paper, send it manually around the office. So we had to get, used to whole new ways of working. Things we didn't expect as well, like store profiles, for instance, where we would go into a shop physically and send a photographer out with us. No longer possible. So we had to change those sections and generally speaking, be a lot more reactive as well. We were finding that on a weekly title with RN anyway, we didn't have a lot, never tend to have a lot that kind of scheduled in advance. Now it was, working week to week to make sure that we were up to date with advice, and that was a huge learning curve for us. But one that I think we've done really well with. And yeah, we were delighted this year to announce that we've increased our circulation by 3.2%.
Wow,
which is brilliant. Yeah, we're really pleased, and I think that's just a testament to being that bit more reactive and being sort of a trustworthy source in these times.
Well, that's a massive achievement. I do a hospitality talks episodes as well, and I spoke to somebody yesterday who launched a business in the pandemic, and it made me so anxious just even talking to him. The idea of launching a business in a pandemic, and in my mind, if you are predominantly, if you're trade press and if you're predominantly print, to increase your circulation in a pandemic is absolutely fantastic. So you must be over the moon with that. Now, you also launched some new titles. I'm right in thinking that.
We did, yeah. I don't recommend launching a new title in a pandemic. Cross that off your list if you're a fan of that.
Not launch.
Yeah, we launched Vape Retailer in February. So a magazine just for the convenience sector. And really sort of designed to delve into category advice and insight around the growing vaping market. We agreed to print that 8 times a year with a cover price of £1.49. So again, got that sort of paid for journalism aspect to it. Mm-hmm. It's gone from strength to strength, and I believe that it will actually turn a profit in its first year as well. So we are delighted with that. It seems to be that market is just going to go even stronger next year. Really interested to see where that goes.
Brilliant. Well, that's fantastic. I actually had a conversation with Matt Moden from Liberty Flights on this very podcast or vlog series, I should call it, shouldn't I? And to learn about the inroads that vaping is making into the convenience industry was fascinating, and it's obviously a massively growing category, so great for the retailers to have that advice and information out there. Talk to me a little bit about trade press generally, because presumably you've had a massive spike in online traffic in the same way that everybody else has, with so much of it moving online and with people not perhaps getting print copies. But where do you sit at the moment as trade press, coming out of lockdown, into lockdown, etc.?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, particularly March, April, even May, actually, we saw a huge spike in online traffic. And I think I was just really driven by retailers wanting advice straight away. These were new guidelines that were coming in. There was new advice. There was new facts to sort of pick up and act on every day. So we did find that better retailing became even more vital to what we were doing. But we haven't seen a move away from print, and I know we obviously other types in our sector have stopped printing for myriad reasons. We don't see that print is any less relevant with our audience. I'll lob some stats at you, but we know that 35% of retailers still want suppliers to hear from suppliers via trade press. Mm-hmm. That figure is 20% when it comes to websites.
Right, okay.
Won't be stats new to you because they're from the Life After Lockdown report that we did together this year. But yeah, it just goes to show that print is still a really relevant medium to our audience, and it's one that we will continue to support. Even with our free title, Retail Express, we'll still be producing that fortnightly next year.
Mm-hmm. And of course, so you work really closely with retailers. That's something I've seen you do over the years, as people at Newtrade, but also as titles as a whole. And it's not just about helping retailers, though. It's also about facilitating conversations with suppliers, and helping suppliers to support retailers. What have you seen that's good in supplier assistance, perhaps, for retailers during the last 8 months, and perhaps what's not been quite so good
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's always been a brilliant industry to write about, and it's one of the reasons why I've stayed at Newtrade Media so long, is the content matter and getting to work with retailers every day. And this year we've just seen certain suppliers really step up in their support for local stores. So particular shout outs to brands like KP Snacks with their Local Legends campaign. Story used sort of got a bunch of retailers in a room to actually create their point of sale together, and design point of sale for their new launch, actually as it was kind of coming to market. Boost Drinks did a fantastic initiative with their care packs, sent out hundreds, if not thousands, of care packs to retailers that had social distancing point of sale in there, and sort of free stock and those kind of things. So we've seen a lot of suppliers really step up. Mm-hmm. Without sort of naming any names, we've seen other suppliers that did just take their foot off the pedal a little bit and go quiet and not sort of engage editorially, not sort of keep the communications going. And that's such a big thing, especially during this time, is to just keep reassuring retailers that you're there. Because if you don't, and they keep seeing that you're doing well in the supermarkets, it's just going to create that resentment, and it's just going to make retailers think that you're not prioritizing them when they've had a fantastic year, most of them. So there's a business aspect to it, but also they are the ones that need the support as well as sort of people. Hopefully we start to see more suppliers doing that next year, and helping retailers to sort of rebuild if they've had to close, or capitalize on that success if indeed they've seen that as well.
Yeah, and I think the point that you've made there is about the sort of almost rivalry with the supermarkets, is that we've seen that the British population is keen to shop locally when it works for them. Yes, I trust you more than I trust the supermarkets. Yes, I can walk to you, so I don't have to use public transport. There's all these different reasons why we've seen the consumer use local stores more than they would. How do you see that panning out for the future, and how do you see the part of trade press going in the future as well?
So I absolutely, the optimist in me hopes that shoppers will continue to use convenience stores in the way that they have come to rely on during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But they'll only be able to do that if retailers can continue to meet their sort of pricing needs next year. And continue to facilitate that role of kind of the mini supermarket that they've taken on in 2020. That will come naturally to some retailers, and it will come particularly naturally to the retailers that we all know, the ones that demand a lot of column inches in trade press, and the ones that are sort of well known on supplier panels. But there's an awful lot of retailers out there, and we're as a title, we're working on trying to get more of those voices in print as well. There's an awful lot of retailers out there where they do need this advice, and they'll need the support on ranging, and they'll need the sort of the category insight to come through. So that's the challenge for next year. And if you've got sort of a 800 or 900,000 square foot store in place, how do you make sure that you're continuing to meet that local need? That's really key.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Chris Dillon. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on Convenience Talks with me, and I hope to see you cycling through some ridiculous country or up some ridiculous hill at some point next year in aid for MAG, that we both cycle for as part of the convenience industry crew that go out and do those. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you next year.